It is Donglin City. If the strings can solve the Tai Long Reservoir issue, we'll surely win the favor of the leadership in Donglin City. Perhaps the master might lighten the punishment a bit. The two quickly arrived at the Tai Long Reservoir, but was intercepted by the police. Rocky also felt that something was wrong. The police presence is so dense. There are no acquaintances here in Donglin City. The two of them can't get in at all. At that moment, the leader surprisingly brought a group of Taoists into the reservoir. Chuanzi intentionally asked a question. What are these Taoists doing here? Is that person in a suit the leader? Unexpectedly, the police scolded the group to leave immediately. With no other choice, the two had to drive back. Chuanzi thought and thought, planning to blend into the team of Taoist priests. Kelyuopi reminded Chuanzi, being invited by the leader definitely means you have real skills. How could I possibly share the credit with you? At a loss for solutions, Rocky accompanied Chuanzi to drink and relieve boredom. This cannot be snatched. If it goes wrong, it will also implicate Liu Ji. Let's go back and think it over. Chuanzi could only sigh. Suddenly, someone spoke from behind. Do you want to buy a CD, buddy? We have all kinds of colors here. Upon hearing this, Chuanzi, beer instantly spilled all over the crotch. However, this person continued to chatter endlessly. Chuanzi immediately swatted him away. Get as far away from me as you can. The man turned away in anger, whispered, What are you showing off about? Still pretending to be serious. Chuanzi immediately got up with a gloomy expression. Rocky quickly reassured Chuanzi. Unexpectedly, Chuanzi picked up a beer bottle, directly knocked the man to the ground. A vendor selling movie discs. How dare you show off in front of the string? But the next second, an undercover police officer having a late-night snack, inviting the chains to go have tea. Then Chuanzi and Yuoki was locked on the radiator in the police station. Didn't get to drink the tea. Suddenly, a foul smell rushed into my nostrils. The fishy smell is so strong. Chuanzi quickly looked over, but saw a person with a waxy yellow complexion. The eyes remained motionless, blood white all around. Thick black smoke was billowing from both shoulders. The air around him was thick with a chilling presence. Chuanzi was also scared and broke out in a cold sweat. Can't think too much. Immediately shouted at the police. Officer, that person is strange. You must be very careful. At this moment, another officer stepped forward. We need to arrest the guy selling movie discs. The police unexpectedly found it in his disc. Discovered footage of real-life torture and murder. Chuanzi suddenly remembered not long ago the serial murder case caused by Tianlin in Qingqin City. Could this have any connection? However, this person's face does not look like someone who is having bad luck. Suddenly, a police officer was thrown out. Someone actually attacked a police officer. All the police rushed into the house. I want to take control of the situation. Chuanzi said it was that strange person acting up again. Rocky was extremely surprised. You anticipated this too. Recently, Chuanzi has made rapid progress. Rocky didn't expect Chuanzi to have such strength. A police officer rushed in front of the suspect. Hurry up and speak. How did you know that person had a problem? Chuanzi just smiled playfully. Officer, you believe what I said. Take me to see. Just talking won't make it clear. Rocky saw the officer still hesitating. Immediately used the unlocking technique of the thief's gate. This lock is like a toy to Rocky. The officer was very shocked. With such abilities, yet still obediently held captive. So he quickly brought the two people inside. Keizai just glanced at that strange person. Cold sweat unexpectedly broke out on my face. The strange person had blood-red eyes that glowed with a dark blue light. It was as if he were ready to devour everyone in front of him. This is an ancient spell that has long been lost. The subject of the procedure will have blood-red eyes and a burst of azure energy, ultimately turned into an incredibly violent person, with blood-red eyes like a vicious wolf. As soon as Chuenzi entered the door, he spotted the suspect tied to the chair. It is precisely this blood magic that originates from shamanism. Shamanism is also known as animal worship. Its followers believe they can gain the power of the beast. One of the fundamental spells of shamanism is blood magic. Chuenzi remembers the strange techniques of sealing doors. It is recorded that blood magic has long vanished from the martial world. A sense of doubt lingered in my heart. Is there still someone today who masters this ancient magical incantation? The suspect has just been brought into the police station. As I passed by Chuenzi once reminded the officer in charge of the escort, "This person has issues." But at that time, the police did not pay attention. The suspect suddenly erupted. Strength like an ox, just about to break free from the handcuffs. The police suddenly remembered the reminder from the informant. They brought him into the interrogation room. The police asked Chuenzi how he figured it out just now. Chuenzi expressed that he could see it clearly, and it can help him return to normal. The premise is to give him a pair of scissors. He guarantees that the suspect will calm down within 10 minutes. The officer thought the facts didn't matter either, so they had someone bring scissors. I want to see what tricks the string can perform. Chuenzi took the scissors. Circle around behind the suspect, tending to diligently practice the broken disaster heart technique. Today, it can finally be put to use. Chuenzi remembers what is recorded in the book. I want to break the human body's spell. We must use the Kungsing 6 style push. Actually, it's just the storyteller from the Maoshan tree. The purpose is to let the dark soul leave the body, to calm the restless emotions. Chuenzi pointed a single hand directly at the suspect's back of the head. As she practiced, a faint light glimmered from her fingertips. Then, with a strong push from the palm, suddenly he forcefully expelled the suspect's dark soul from his body. In an instant, the suspect's pupils slightly constricted. Chuenzi felt a chilling cold piercing through his pores. This is the sign of the ghostly presence. This suspect lost his soul, immediately became a walking corpse, sitting on the bench without moving. The police were quite shocked upon seeing this. The person who was so fierce just now, suddenly calmed down by Chuenzi. Chuenzi did not hesitate at all. Take advantage of this person's ghostly presence and quickly shave the shadow hair. He must act quickly, otherwise the ghost will leave the body for too long, could cause immeasurable harm to a person's body. Thus Chuenzi moved swiftly like the wind, quickly cut off the suspect's hair that emits black gas. Although the whole head was cut into 1,000 holes, it looked like a patchwork. But after removing the cursed hair, the suspect's blood-red eyes gradually returned to normal. The police witnessed this scene. I can't help but sigh inwardly, watching the learned art of disaster mitigation. Achieved results. Chuenzi continued to pursue victory. Immediately proceed to the final step. This refers to Na from the 6th generation of Kungsing. At this moment, the suspect's soul has already left the body, but still surrounding the body. Thus, the soul and body are connected by some invisible medium. When the body is stimulated, the soul will also be affected. So stimulating the body can also stimulate the soul. For example, pulling the ear and pinching the person's acupoint are common methods to capture the soul. Meanwhile, they also press down on itself, Tontian, and the 3 acupoints of the morning light. Stimulate menstrual blood circulation. accelerate the growth of shadows. A moment later, the suspect's bald head has sprouted hair again. The officers were all amazed at the sight. At this moment, the strong man has already woken up. The first thing he asked was where this place was. "Why do you rely on him?" The police saw that he had already returned to normal. Just wanted to ask something. Then the strong man suddenly widened his eyes. A gag in the throat. Unexpectedly spat out a mouthful of black liquid, and the smell is extremely foul. The little boy took a closer look. It was discovered that the man's skin, several small fish-like shapes unexpectedly surfaced, and it is quickly swimming inside the man's body. Chuenzi sensed something was wrong, immediately went up to cut open the man's shirt. Only the man's broad chest was visible. It was covered with countless bumpy little fish, and moved up and down at an extremely fast speed. Chuenzi suddenly felt a tingling sensation on his scalp. It's simply disgusting to the extreme. At that moment, Chuenzi suddenly discovered these small fish. All are moving towards the man's belly button. Suddenly, a stream of fresh blood burst from his belly button. A small fish head, sharp and golden, suddenly sprang out from the belly button. I have never seen such a supernatural scene. Under the man's skin, countless small fish darted around frantically. It's simply nerve-wracking. Chuenzi was also startled and stood frozen in place. At that moment, all the little fish swam towards the man's navel, with a puff sound. Suddenly, a shiny golden fish with a pointed mouth burst out. Chuenzi shouted in horror, "Is this golden little fish?" The words are not yet finished. The man's mournful scream echoed through the police station. Countless small fish poured out from his abdomen. Chuenzi immediately shouted, "Quick retreat! You absolutely cannot let these fish spikes pierce your skin. This is an extremely cruel parasitic fish known as the water queen mother. Hurry to find the salt. Any salt will do." Before long, the officer outside brought salt. They immediately sprinkled salt on all the water wangmu, soon accompanied by a sizzling sound. The water queen transformed into fish liver, emitting a foul odor. At that moment the officer asked, "What on earth is this monster?" Chuenzi covered his nose and mouth and said, "Shui wangmu is extremely terrifying. Inject the fish eggs into the host's body using the pointed snout. The fish eggs will hatch soon, then absorb the host's essence, blood, and flesh to grow and develop, finally breaking free." Chuenzi is from Master Lyo's collection of books. I learned from a classic on wooden mechanisms. There is a hidden water gate that uses the Mother of the West as a mechanism. The deceased is trapped in an impenetrable crystal cage. Between the fruit and the tree there is water filled. Among them is the water queen mother. The water queen mother feeds only on parasitic fungi and water. Then they can live for 100 years. If the tomb raider carelessly opens the sealed door, will definitely be attacked by the water queen mother and be parasitized by fish eggs. The final fate was extremely tragic. However, Officer Key said that the person just now was not a tomb raider. He is. At this point, the officer hesitated to speak. Chuenzi and Liukidan must have a deeper connection. Not a tomb raider. The Katai-Long Reservoir is once again sealed off by the police. Could it be divers sent by the police? The officer said, "This person is not a diver. Now, no one dares to go into the water. We saw many fish scales the size of clay pots in the water. There are both teal and golden ones." At this point, the officer said no more. Chuenzi and Liuoki exchanged a glance. Who that person is no longer matters. The key is the giant fish scales that appeared in the reservoir. The officers saw the expressions of the two. I'm also a bit curious." Then I saw Chuenzi clasping his hands and speaking. "Officer, the channel wants to explore the Tai Long Reservoir. Perhaps the channel can resolve it. Uncertain if it's possible." The officer was suddenly surprised. "So you are a Taoist priest? But even the deist of Zigon Mountain couldn't solve it. Can you really do it?" Chuenzi said, "Every leaf has its own specialty. Dealing with monsters in the water is my specialty." The officer felt confident about dealing with Shui Wang Mu. Immediately decided to go to the scene tomorrow. The two then walked out of the police station. Qi Chuenzi, however, is burdened with heavy thoughts. Rocky couldn't help but ask what was wrong. Chuenzi said, "Dealing with this fish is easy, but the real trouble lies in the ancient tomb deep within the reservoir." Rocky was instantly shocked. "You didn't say that just now." Chuenzi explained with a serious expression. "That Water Queen has no ability to pollute the water quality. So it must be after the ancient tomb cracked. The Water Queen has escaped, but it can cause large-scale pollution of the Tai Long Reservoir. It is the unknown pollutants among them. To solve this problem, we need to repair the ancient tomb. So we need to pinpoint the location of the ancient tomb. This is where the reservoir's water source is located." Rocky couldn't help but say, "Who knows where the water veins of the Tai Long Reservoir are?" Chuenzi smiled and said, "As long as we use the method of united heart and focused study, using the terrain and stars for navigation became essential. Lying's and Feng Shui's secret." However, Liao Shuer was tasked with teaching the string. "Absolutely can find it." Loki sighed with admiration. Chuenzi now understands the profound mysteries. The two of them then took the rat demon and the small bundle towards the reservoir. Connections within the city bureau. The police blocking the road decisively let them through. Chuenzi and the others headed straight for Tailong Reservoir. Arrived at the shore. Sure enough, the reservoir turned into a yellow chicken soup. Fish and shrimp are on the verge of extinction. They immediately sensed that there was something terrifying lurking in the water. This reservoir is too eerie. In a single night, the water suddenly turned yellow, with a faint fishy smell. At a glance, dead fish were floating in patches on the water's surface. This Ta Long Reservoir located in the outskirts of the city. It is the lifeblood of Dongling City. The city leaders truly found this matter difficult. They tried every possible way. In desperation, they even sought the help of a Taoist to exorcise the evil spirits. But in the end, it was all in vain. There, the informant was entrusted by the local police. Arrived here to manage wastewater. As soon as they reached the water's edge, a foul stench hit me face on. Chuenzi squatted down. There are indeed many impressive creatures in the water. No wonder those Taoists were at a loss. Immediately after, Chuenzi put down the box, take out a gong plate from inside. He held a book in his left hand. Hold the plate with your right hand. Look up at the starry sky. Silently recite the terminology of mental imagery. After finishing the recitation, with a snap, the monk held the ancient text. With a serious expression, he turned back to ask who the person in charge here was. A middle-aged man wearing gold-rimmed glasses said, "He is the deputy leader of the management team for the Tailong Reservoir water source." Can't wait for the man to finish speaking. Chuenzi immediately interrupted, saying he wanted to see their team leader. Next, the request made by Chuenzi. It's not something the deputy leader can decide. The middle-aged man's eyes narrowed. He turned around and instructed the young subordinate behind him. Let him call team leader Zhu, a Feng Shui master invited by the city bureau. Found a way to break the deadlock of the reservoir. About 17 or 18 minutes later, A black, vintage honky slowly drove up. A person with a slicked back hairstyle. The middle-aged man with a big waist got out of the car, surrounded by two bodyguards. Zhao Xuanzi and the others slowly walked over. At first sight, the middle-aged man politely stepped forward to shake hands with the young man, expressed gratitude. Xuanzi responded in a very official tone. "Thank you, Captain Zhu, for coming all the way here in the middle of the night. However, the situation here is indeed quite complicated," Xuanzi confidently stated. He is absolutely confident he can win this tough battle. When team leader Zhu heard this, very excited, eagerly inquiring about the source of pollution in the reservoir. "Where exactly is it?" Xuanzi asked him not to rush. "The reason is quite complex. It's impossible to explain in just a few sentences. But the string can guarantee he will definitely be able to get this done in a short time. It just requires a few strict conditions." Hearing this, team leader Zhu Lima expressed that he would fully support. "Feel free to state any conditions you have." So Xuanzi stopped hesitating. "Tell the other person directly. Right now, he needs a 500-pound stone pillar, climbing ropes made from two types of nanomaterials, and a large iron hook about 10 meters long." Zudui was puzzled. What do these things have to do with flood control? But Xuanzi pretended to be mysterious. The secrets of the heavens must not be revealed. Once everything is taken care of, everyone will know in due time. So team leader Zhu immediately sent his deputy to handle it. Rocky whispered to Xuanzi, "One should never be too certain about anything. Don't make trouble for yourself." But Xuanzi reassured him, even if Rocky doesn't believe him. "You should also trust Uncle Lio. Even if you don't trust Uncle Lio, one should also believe in Zhu Zai's heart-linked Feng Shui method. That is based on the Feng Shui theory of this old sage. An ancient book compiled." Rocky saw that Xuanzi was so confident, no longer stopped. "Time is short." Zhu's subordinates brought the 3 items requested by the boss, and dug a shallow pit according to the request of the string. Insert the stone pillar into it. Buried soil compaction. Then tie one end of the nano rope to the stone pillar. The other end is tied to a live duck, thrown into the water. The duck does not know the danger, floating leisurely on the surface of the yellowish water. At this moment, the sky had already brightened, although the water is murky. But Xuanzi and the others still clearly saw. Beneath the yellow water, there was a large object as thick as a torpedo. A flock of ducks surged forward. In an instant, suddenly, a large spirit fish leaped out from beneath the water's surface, a head biting a duck floating on the water's surface. Suddenly, he turned and plunged into the water. Xuanzi knew this was a water king creature. It's just that this one is much larger than the previous ones. Team leader Zhu immediately ordered his subordinates to quickly grab the rope, but Xuanzi said it's not necessary. Everyone quickly step back. Be careful not to get hit by the pillar. As soon as the words were spoken, the rope has been completely pulled into the water. The exposed part of the blunt stone crumbled straight down. The soil by the water doesn't have much stickiness. The stone pillar suddenly tilted toward the water's surface. Xuanzi shouted in response, "The pillar is about to collapse. Everyone must stay away." The words remained unspoken. The stone pillar suddenly collapsed. As the big fish struggles fiercely in the water, the stone pillar was also dragged away from the shore, rolling down to the bottom of the water. Immediately, the large fish caught in the net was suddenly pulled back by the stone pillar, despite the big fish struggling to break the surface of the water, but still unable to break free from the restraints. Xuanzi was extremely excited upon seeing this. Immediately turn around and have the officer bring over the fishing hook and the rock." Just as Chuenzi issued the command, suddenly there was a loud bang behind. Looking back, I was surprised to find the surface of the water. Suddenly a larger Kingling water queen emerged, with a loud crash. A 30-meter long azure spirit water queen mother. It burst out from the reservoir, the fierce sharp beak directly aimed at the small spirit water queen below. Swallowing the breath in one gulp, this scene left Chuenzi dumbfounded. The methods used to capture the fairy water queen have also come to nothing, as the Kingling water queen mother submerged deep into the reservoir. Chuenzi immediately shouted, "Get me a boat. You must keep up with that water queen mother." Kexutin is helpless as well, since the Tailong reservoir has turned into a foul, smelling yellow water. The boatmen dare not linger here. Even if we catch that fish, what difference does it make? Kizu's team doesn't know. Chuenzi determined that the water queen mother's nest was located at the ancient tomb underwater. Before the strain used the foul wind and water technique. The location of the ancient tomb has been locked in. As long as we take the boat, we will succeed. Just thinking about how to persuade team leader Zhu. Otherwise, the string would have a spirit in its eyes. A sailboat is sailing in the distance across the reservoir. Taking a closer look, at the tip of the stern there was a skull. The hull is constructed from countless skeletons. "Bullshit," Renpei Fan. Chuenzi exclaimed in shock. "This is a ghost ship." Chua reminded everyone to disperse quickly. Captain Zhu was puzzled. "What exactly is this thing?" Chuenzi also thought of a way to persuade Captain Zhu. So he said, "Do you know what lies within the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang? There are interwoven ditches. It was filled with mercury, and the glory of Qin Shi Huang. It was precisely placed on a small boat made of human bones. Let it drift freely in the mercury pool. This is the origin of the ghost ship. And every leg bone on the ship, there are the existences of wronged souls. As long as tomb raiders get close, you will be haunted by the white ghost." Previously, Chuenzi had inferred that there was something beneath the reservoir. There are ancient tombs. The appearance of the ghost ship at this moment proves everything. So we just need to seal the breach in the ancient tomb. This can solve the pollution issue of the reservoir. Team leader Zhu immediately questioned. Even if the bottom of the water is filled with garbage, it's also impossible to pollute the entire reservoir. Chuenzi then stated two reasons. The first point observes the statue of the Supreme Being here, chosen by the Feng Shui master as the site for the ancestral tomb. This is inevitable. The second point is the water queen of Jinling and Kingling, and the appearance of the white bone ghost ship. There is no doubt that there are ancient tombs underwater. Why shouldn't Captain Zhu believe? Speak. Chuenzi suggested needing an underwater device. Portable high-powered camera. The provincial hydrological station should have it. How could Zhu team dare to let the province handle it? Do you know about the pollution in the reservoir? However, Chuenzi said, this is a tremendous achievement. The scale of the underwater ancient tomb is absolutely comparable to the terracotta army. Zhu Dui still doesn't want to take any risks. Chuenzi immediately teased. You discovered an ancient tomb and treated the sewage. Or perhaps you are indifferent to the flood disaster. One great achievement. One is overly cautious. It is only a matter of time before the reservoir pollution is widely reported. Whether you address the flooding or sit idly by, this has nothing to do with me. In a moment, the ghost ship disappears. Zhu Dui quickly arranged for someone to contact the province. He dared not mention the issue of wastewater management, only said discovered an ancient tomb. until after dawn. The truck carrying the instruments has arrived. The underwater camera was then submerged. The professional held a remote control tablet. Control the camera to move underwater. The camera slowly moves forward on the screen. The underwater vegetation is extremely lush. Under the guidance of Chuanzi, as we approach our destination, the screen suddenly froze. The expert was immediately puzzled. Is it caught in the water grass? At that moment, the player pointed at the screen and shouted, "There's a noise." It seems like something has emerged from the mud. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone quickly focused intently on the screen. But just at that moment, suddenly, a massive dragon claw came rushing towards me. The expert was immediately frightened and dropped the remote tablet. Beneath the water lies a terrifying creature known as the Shenlong. Chuanzi picked up the tablet, feeling a bit confused. Is it really a divine dragon? At that moment, Zhu Dui walked over anxiously. Chuanzi then said, "Do you know why the reservoir has become like this? This is the illusion created by the divine dragon. Do not want to be discovered by humans. If the water is really polluted, there should be no vegetation underwater." Beside him, Liuqidan was audaciously amusing. "You should know that all the fish and shrimp in the water have died out. The story is becoming more and more mysterious." Keksu team believed it, because Chuenzi said this is a good omen. Listen. Then a squad of soldiers lined up in front. The captain of the team is Colonel Zhu Gang from the 4th Military Region's Sea Phantom Special Forces. How could Team Zhu afford to be negligent? He immediately sent him to find Chuenzi to understand the situation. Then Zhu Gang walked up to Chuenzi. After a lot of communication, he actually took Chuenzi with him to dive and explore. Chuenzi was instantly scared, breaking out in a cold sweat, because there are the clear spirit water queen and the giant dragon in the water. However, what surprised Chuenzi was Zhu Gang and his team detected the heat source through satellites. It's confirmed that Kingling Water Queen Mother is dead. After all, he swallowed the water spirit, the Queen Mother. Swallow the iron hook into the belly. Had long been pierced through the belly by an iron hook. Then Chuenzi put on the diving suit. Follow Zhu Gang and other soldiers as they dive into the water. Under the guidance of the string, everyone moved towards the direction where the camera discovered the giant dragon. Soon, a dark silhouette shocked everyone. But what is even more surprising is, behind the dark shadow, there were countless indistinct figures. Renpei Fan, Bai Gu's legend, a ghost ship slowly drifted across the lake's surface. But soon after, it disappeared again. Chuenzi concluded that there was a grand tomb beneath the reservoir comparable to the King Guangling tomb. What is even more unexpected is a giant dragon head suddenly appeared underwater. Its head alone is 8 meters tall. If it were alive, its existence will shock the entire world. This incident startled the special forces. Chuenzi also followed them into the water, ready to investigate. As the diving team continued to descend into the depths, exploring the position of the giant dragon, a huge shadow suddenly appeared in the murky water ahead, like a towering mountain peak standing before me. Captain Zhu Gang contacts his teammates to plan a closer look. At that moment, a harsh electric sound suddenly came through the earpiece of Chuenzi and Captain Zhu. This sound is deafening. It's like piercing the eardrum. The earplugs are connected to an oxygen mask. Cannot be removed at all. Chuenzi's mind immediately became heavy. I almost fainted on the spot. The whole person unconsciously swam horizontally. At that moment, Zhu Gang grabbed the wrist of the string player and pulled him back. The two of them endured the piercing noise as they continued toward the massive flying shadow. As we got closer and closer, a massive dragon head appeared in the sight of the two. The dragon's eyes were completely white and lacked pupils. The expression was solemn and serious. "Stop there and don't move." Only by getting closer did I realize this is actually a dragon's head carved from a giant stone. Think carefully. Chuenzi felt something was off again. The dragon head seen in the monitor was clearly moving. Then the two swam deeper along the dragon's body after passing through its head. The length of this stone dragon is beyond measure. It needs to be at least 30 or 40 meters. And right after that, an even more spectacular scene unfolded. Beneath the water, there is actually a giant dragon city. The towering city gate looms majestically, like the southern gate of heaven, on the plaque hanging high in the center. Two shining golden characters are written, Dragon City. After entering here, the noise in the headphones suddenly disappeared. The water quality isn't that bad. Zhu Gang grabbed the wrist of the Gan. He led him deep into Dragon City. With the propulsion of the submersible, the two quickly discovered the corpse of the spirit water queen from before, lying flat in the ruins of Lingcheng. The stone pillar at the tail of the water queen mother has already broken. It is likely caused by the impact. Chuenzi suddenly realized at this moment the moving dragon's head in the monitor. It must have been knocked down by the cement pillar at the tail of the water queen. That's why there was a momentary tremor. Additionally, with the assistance of underwater night vision goggles, Chuenzi also discovered something amazing. On the blue stone pavement inside Lingcheng, the area was filled with various massive stone dragon statues. At the same time, Chuenzi was filled with excitement. He suddenly discovered an unexpected situation. So he patted Zhu Gang and pointed into the distance. In the center of Lingcheng, a thick yellow water column surged up. The two friends arrived at the water column. Once again, I encountered the teammates who had gone missing before. Everyone greeted each other. Confirm that we are both safe and sound. Then a teammate pointed at the riverbed where the water column easily cracked. That indicates the source of the water column. Chuenzi feels this must be a road for excavating ancient tombs. At the same time, it is also the source of reservoir pollution, unknown substance leaking from the ancient tomb that caused this body of water to become so murky. Zhu Gang reminded, their oxygen is running low, must return the same way first, passing by the giant stone dragon statue. Once again, a piercing sound of electric current. He came to carve the stone of this giant dragon, which bears tattoos. Although it is still unclear for now what are those specific sources of the leaked yellow pollution, but the ancient city that was discovered, it can already be considered a realm of divinity. Once made public, it is highly likely to become the eighth wonder of the world. As Chuenzi and the others left Longshu, when swimming towards the riverbank, the stone dragon's eyes behind me came to life. In the murky, dim waters, emitting a strange glow. Time is short. Everyone returned to the temporary base safely and without incident. Rocky approached to ask about the situation underwater. At this moment, Chuenzi only felt a sharp pain in his ears. After taking off the earplugs, I still can't hear what Rocky is saying. At this moment, Zhu Gang, still forcing myself to report the situation to the organization, even though blood was already flowing from my ears. But he was completely unaware. Seeing this, Chuenzi, I couldn't help but admire from the bottom of my heart. 2 days later, Captain Zhu specially hosted a banquet. Hospitality for the skewers. After this incident, he was utterly in awe of Chuenzi. During the banquet, Chuenzi inquires about the follow-up handling of the reservoir incident. Team Zhu stated that there is indeed an ancient tomb in Lincheng. It is still unclear whose it is. The cause of the reservoir pollution has been found. Chuenzi initially thought it was grave robbers digging a hole. An unidentified object erupted from the tomb. But that's not the case. This is a very serious and frightening natural disaster. The yellow objects erupting underwater. It's actually just dust and smoke. Geologists say it is the magmal flow beneath Dragon City, triggered a fracture in the crust. The dust is spewing out from the cracks. This is also a sign of a volcanic eruption. Chuenzi felt a bit dizzy. I can't believe there's a volcano here. According to current expert analysis, that's indeed the case. At this point, team leader Zhu is about to toast Jing Chuenzi with a drink. It was precisely because of the alertness of Chuenzi. Dongling City has just avoided a catastrophe that could have led to its destruction. Then Captain Zhu asked which sect the string master came from. Such remarkable skills. When Chuenzi heard this, secretly delighted. This was exactly his purpose for taking action this time. He wanted to use this opportunity to establish connections with the leaders of Dongling City, rescue Uncle Liao, who is trapped in prison. Chuenzi answered. His master is named Liao Fan, majoring in Lanbao Dao. His skills are nothing compared to his master. It's simply heaven and earth. Moreover, his master will come in 2 days. When team leader Zhu heard this, he was amazed. You actually want to come to Dongling City. So he asked Master Liao, did you come here by plane? Do you need a ride? He, Chuenzi, said. His master came to face judgment. I hope team leader Zhu will be there then. Just don't let him suffer. Upon hearing this, Zhu Dui's expression changed immediately. Scared enough to sober up, he made an excuse and got up to leave. Chuenzi doesn't know this guy. Why are you being so unreasonable? After all, he also helped the other party achieve great merit. Rocky said, this is when the string doesn't understand anything. Zhu Dui is at least someone from the righteous side. Such an occasion. Let him help a criminal clear their name. How can he possibly step down from this? However, Rocky thought of it. Another way to lose the bet. The 2 days of rest. Rocky watched some local television and newspapers. Just as he had imagined. The news is all about boasting about Zhu Pang, except for that volcanic eye. Lincheng is also a legend. Legend has it that he was a warlord from the northwest. Built with guidance from a master. Summon all the skilled craftsmen from across the world. Create countless dragon statues. The purpose is to suppress. At that time, the earthquake-prone Dongling geological vein. This is indeed ridiculous. But there is indeed a volcano here. Since we know that the volcano is about to erupt, then the local area will definitely make thorough preparations. The first to prepare must be Zhu Pang. If Zhu Pang had a lot of money, so these days, he must be busy secretly transferring assets. If at this moment I steal his golden light, using this as leverage again, absolutely more useful than gaining credit through connections. Chuenzi just wanted to open his eyes and see the world. Rocky's unparalleled Taoist skills. After the two discussed it, decide to take action tonight. First, they arrived at the neighborhood where Zhu Pang lived. Block the camera with Rocky's snake. Afterwards, Chuenzi thought Rocky would use the legendary adventure device to blow open the lock. Unexpectedly, Rocky pulled out a master key. After entering, the two put on shoe covers and began to search around. Unexpectedly, Zhu Pang's home was bare. This doesn't seem like a wealthy family. Just as the two were wondering if they had the wrong door, heard a click of the door behind. Chuenzi thought it was not good. Could it be that Zhu Pang has returned? In the dead of night, the doorknob turned with a clicking sound. The thief, already feeling guilty, was immediately startled. At that moment a hand suddenly grabbed the collar of the string. The one who acted was Rocky. At this moment they are burglarizing Zhu Du's home. It must be Captain Zhu who has returned outside. If caught red-handed, it's all over. The two hurriedly hid under the bed. Footsteps could be heard coming from inside the house. Suddenly someone spoke, one in the sky, one underground. Chuanzi was very puzzled. What does this mumbling mean? The voice, surprisingly, isn't Team Zhu's. Suddenly a loud banging sound echoed through the room. Someone approaches, holding a hammer, striking the floor. It even attracted the neighborhood security to knock on the door and warn us. The man responded hoarsely. At this moment, Chuanzi finally realized. This person is actually a soul-lost individual. After the man left, Rocky couldn't help but ask, "Who exactly is this guy?" "Lost my soul, yet still awake. It's too strange to be neither human nor ghost." Chuanzi sighed. "This person is a ghostly figure. This is also the scariest part of him." Rocky expressed his amazement. Suddenly their expression changed. "There is nothing in this room. We took the wrong door. Chuanzi and Liuqi's goal is Zhu Du's home. It is room 803. But this door has a ghost gate spell. This is indeed a method of theft prevention. Will make those with a thieving heart hallucinate. Can't tell which direction to go. Even the house number was unclear. And this just proves that Zhu Pangzi has a big problem. There must be a lot of money at home. The solution to the duodenal surgery is also very simple. Just a bit of melodrama is enough." Chuanzi smiled confidently. "Look at mine." Then he bit his finger. "This is precisely the method of repairing shoes taught by Master Lio." A drop of blood splattered onto the door number. In the next moment Chuanzi felt a wave of dizziness. "Next, look at the house number. It has already turned into No. 805, without the interference of the pyloric surgery." Rocky immediately locked onto the real room 803. The two of them quietly entered the house. Rocky immediately used the thief's gate technique to activate the dark light spell. Even if something valuable is hidden deep, it will also emit golden light with the incantation. Rocky hurriedly unlocked and opened the cabinet door, taking out a piece of beta jade from inside, wearing it on my hand with great joy. But the truly valuable things are usually hidden in the master bedroom. The two of them swaggered into the master bedroom, but saw a red-haired beauty on top of team leader Zhu. Surprisingly, the red-haired beauty's eyes unexpectedly sparkled with golden light. The pupils are like strange thickets. Just about to exclaim, Rocky quickly covered the string. However, what is even stranger is the red-haired beauty didn't care about Chuanzi and Rocky. Instead, they looked towards team leader Zhu. The next second, her face turned sinister and terrifying. It opened its bloody maw to devour Captain Zhu's life force. Chuanzi and Liuqi were immediately scared out of their wits, ran down the stairs blindly. This night has been so thrilling. First is the pyloric surgery. It's that soul-lost ghostly person again. Finally, it's this mysterious beauty. But no matter how you look at it, there must be a connection among the three. But the two of them analyzed it for half a day and still couldn't figure it out. I can only go home, wash up, and sleep. The next morning, Officer Shen was looking for Chuanzi regarding something important. The previous Lai Yanong who sold movie slides. It was just a beer bottle thrown by a stranger, the guy who knocked on the police station. He wanted to ask Chuanzi for a fortune-telling. Otherwise, he just won't say a word. The origin of the real-life torture film. And Lai Yanong is the only clue. Chuenzi realized that all the content about the torture and killing in the film was true. Cursed on the spot. Some people profit by filming videos of animal cruelty. Chuenzi couldn't help but think of Tianlin in Linquin City. It is also torture and recording videos. Could there be a connection between them? Although Tianlin is already dead, but Officer Shen was unwilling to give up any possibilities. Then he turned around to contact the Linquin City Public Security Bureau. Chuenzi arrived at the interrogation room, sat down in front of Lai Yanhong. It turns out that Lai Yanhong really wanted to assist the police in solving the case. But he was extremely afraid of being hunted down. He wanted to ask Chuenzi for help with the calculations. Will there be a calamity of blood? Kejuan's eye was staring directly, the halo emanating from Lai Yanong's head. This is indeed a sign of great luck, with 3 flowers atop the head. This is definitely going to be a success. A sign of the president living a long life with great wealth and nobility. Little did anyone know about Lai Yanong's rebuttal regarding the strings. Not believing it at all. How could he have any luck when he's so unlucky? The string couldn't be understood. He said sternly at once, "If you really want to live a peaceful life outside, just bring out the person who stacked the film for you. They are still engaged in killing activities. Do you understand?" At this point, Lai Yanong also calmed down. The person who folded the paper for him is named Ma Liu Jia. Listening to his frank confession, Chuenzi couldn't help but feel jealous. Such a person can have all 3 flowers on top. The captives were subjected to brutal torture. How nice it would be if everything belonged to me. Let's capture a bit of his aura. Just a little bit. His influence at most is just to stay here a few more days. He deserves it, though this man is imprisoned. But above the head is the auspicious energy of the 3 flowers gathering at the crown. It is very likely that once released from prison, he will rise to success immediately. The skewers across from me looked tempting, although the man wanted the fortune teller to read his face. It's fine, it's just one life. But Chuenzi didn't really pay attention to what he was saying. All I see are the extraordinary aura of these men. Finally, Chuenzi could no longer suppress the impulse in his heart. Unconsciously, I reached out my hand, wanting to snatch away a bit of their luck with the knife. At this moment, Chuenzi has lost his sanity. The demon in his heart told him, just a little bit won't affect the other person at all. At most, it's just a few extra days of moving. Then the string player clenched his palm. A silent cry echoed in my heart. Robbery. The aura above the man's head immediately flew out a bit. He only felt that his body was prone to cold. He thought a cold wind had blown in from somewhere. Suiji Chuenzi got up and left. Before leaving, she turned back to reassure the man. He will be released from prison soon. The man felt incredibly grateful upon hearing this, claiming that once out of prison, I must treat the body to a meal. Along the way, Chuenzi lowered his head in thought. The book on disaster prevention he studied earlier has recorded it. So-called luck. It actually just means carrying luck during the journey. Belongs to the dominion of the Chimeridian. When luck is on your side, the spirit and energy are at their peak, achieving twice the result with half the effort in everything you do. When luck is bad, spirit and energy have hit rock bottom. Being listless makes it easy to make mistakes, and on the outside, they looked like a picture of misfortune. And what is called misfortune? It's actually just a robbery. In the breath of a moment, the spirit will become unsteady. Taking advantage of this opportunity, with a little finger hook, you can snatch a bit of luck. And the method used by Chuenzi is the dark absorption technique. This is one of the most sinister tricks of the Fate Master. Many people have their luck silently drained away like this, although this method is too sinister. But in order to set the rules, the string can't manage that much anymore. Then Chuezi returned to Officer Shen's office. At this time, Officer Shen has already contacted the Linquin City Bureau. They will soon send over Chanlin's disc. As for the matter of the string master, also known as the book dropper, Officer Wu also spoke to him. At this moment, Chuenzi really wants to know, what exactly did Liu Shu do wrong? I hope Officer Shen can reveal something. Officer Shen said, according to the case materials, the master of the skewer in the mid-1980s once forced someone to hold their own son, jump from the fourth floor, caused this person to fall to their death on the spot, and his 8-year-old son was also turned into a vegetable. The crime scene at that time. No one has discovered Master Liu's whereabouts. So for the past 20 years, this case has always been a difficult, unsolved mystery. Who would have thought that more than 20 years have passed? At that time, the climber, who was left in a vegetative state, surprisingly woke up miraculously. Upon hearing this, Xuanzi couldn't help but feel a little excited. He felt that the master was always exceptionally wise. It definitely won't be that kind of ruthless villain who forces people to jump off buildings. Officer Shen asked Chuenzi to calm down. This case was personally identified by Pan Feng. Moreover, Master Liu has also signed a confession. If this is fake, Master Liu had no reason to admit it. Chuenzi couldn't refute, but he was certain in his heart. Uncle Liu is definitely not the murderer who drives people to death. There must be another story behind this. Officer Shen comforts Chuenzi. He can't guarantee anything else. But when Master Liu was handed over to the Dongling City Bureau, he can give the prison a heads up. I will never let Master Liu suffer in prison. When Chuenzi heard this, immediately shook hands with Officer Shen to express gratitude. I've been delayed in Dongling City for these days. The purpose is just for this matter. I never expected to get a promise from Zhu Pangzi. Surprisingly, it was obtained from Officer Shen. Perhaps this is the effect of the MRT. After this matter is resolved, Chuenzi decided to go back and get a good sleep. But that night, Chuenzi lay on the bed and started to have insomnia. Looking at the sleeping Luo Kai beside me, Chuenzi closed his eyes and began to count sheep. After counting to 10,000 sheep, Chuenzi still had no desire to sleep. At that moment, the small string by the bedside heard a faint noise. He stood up and let out a puff of black smoke towards the window. Chuenzi thought to himself, Zio Zhuenz, I can see ghosts as a shadowed dog. Did he see something? But the house seemed to have no unusual signs. At this moment, Chuenzi suddenly realized. The window of the room was unexpectedly open. The mouse demon on the sofa has also vanished without a trace. Chuenzi thought to himself, in the middle of the night, that guy must have sneaked out to fool around again. Lock the window. Let's see how he comes back. Just as Chuenzi was about to go over and close the window, suddenly a ghostly black shadow soared into the sky outside the window. In the dead of night, the shadows of the little stray dog linger endlessly. Chuenzi immediately got up, extremely worried, but found the window wide open. The rat demon has no idea where it has gone to frolic. Chuenzi immediately prepared to lock the window. Let's see how you come back. Suddenly, a gust of ominous wind swept outside the window. Chuenzi curiously looked down. Suddenly, a dark shadow rushed towards me. Even more terrifying was the sinister red glow in the shadow's eyes. Chuenzi suddenly shouted in terror. What is it? At this moment, the deist Master Luoki was awakened. Immediately I gripped the dagger tightly to protect Chuenzi. Suddenly the lantern was knocked over by a dark shadow. In an instant, only then did I see clearly that it was a rat demon covered in blood. The person sitting on the bed immediately shouted, "How are you, mouse demon?" Rocky roared angrily, "Hurry to the pet hospital." The conversation ended. The string of immortality was wrapped up by the Danjan rat demon. Then he shouldered the rat demon and fled for his life. Yingu Zio Chuenzai closely followed. Rocky quickly searched for the nearest pet hospital. As soon as the call connected, he shouted, "Is this a pet hospital? Please prepare the surgical equipment." The pet doctor said to talk about it tomorrow. Rocky roared, "I will give you 10,000 in cash. Please arrive within 10 minutes. Add another 1,000. Having said that, he quickly pursued the string. Yet the strings of sweat flowed endlessly. Shouted angrily at the passer-by, "Move aside quickly." For a moment the two rushed into the car, rushing to the pet hospital. After getting off the car, Chuenzi shouted at the rat demon, "The doctor has arrived. You have to hold on." The doctor discovered it was actually a rat demon. Although surprised, there was no fear. At once he pointed the way. "Carry it to the innermost operating room." Zio Juzi saw this and also followed closely, sharing life and death with Chuenzi. The doctor quickly changed into the surgical gown and exclaimed in amazement, "So this mouse is your pet, huh?" Chuenzi was startled. "Have you seen him?" The doctor said, "These past few nights on my way home, passing by the crematorium. Everyone can see him with a man, but that man only has half a face." Such a bizarre scene didn't scare the doctor at all. Chuenzi was extremely surprised. At this moment, Yuoki is extremely speechless. The rat is almost dead. "Did you get your priorities mixed up, Chuenzi?" At that moment, the doctor said, "Doctors are also people with stories. As for the rat spirit, it won't die anytime soon." But the two were still kicked out by the doctor. Rocky was surprised by the complete medical equipment at this pet hospital. The operating room is very professional. It seems that this doctor's medical skills are quite exceptional. At that moment, Rocky suddenly noticed that something was off with Chuenzi, trembling all over with tension. Cold sweat flows down. Chuenzi's voice trembled as he spoke. "Yuoji, the rat demon should be fine, right?" Rocky heavily patted the string. I couldn't help but smile and said, "Don't worry. This rat has lived for over 100 years. This little injury is nothing." Chuenzi felt a bit more at ease. At this moment, the surgeon in the operating room finished stitching the wound. Then he opened the operating room and said, "The mouse is fine now. However, excessive blood loss. You need to eat and drink well for 2 days to recuperate." Upon hearing this, Yingu Zio Chuenzai also looked up at the doctor with gratitude. Chuenzi immediately handed the doctor 11,000. "This is what we agreed upon. Please accept this." Unexpectedly, the doctor threw the payment to Chuenzi, then said, "I'm not being polite with you either. Your mouse is a monster, right? I would like to ask your mouse for a favor. You can rest assured. It is beneficial for his recovery." Yingu Zio Chuenzi turned his head to look at the doctor. "I wonder if Enzai Chuen can make it." Chuenzi felt a bit confused. The doctor continued speaking. "I want to ask him to help me block behind." The words are not yet finished. The doctor suddenly froze. Only the doctor was surrounded by a thick black mist. All rushed behind Chuenzi. Yingu Zio Chuenzi curiously watched without saying a word. After being carefully taught by Chuenzi, Zio Chuenzi saw that the Yin Kai could already suppress the desire to attack, but the owner of the was possessed by a ghost. Should I remind him Behind this veterinarian, it emitted a faint black mist, can change in an instant. The dark energy shifted to Chuenzi. The veterinarian wanted to say something but hesitated, and this strange scene. It was also noticed by the nearby shadowy little dog. Chuenzi asked him what he wanted to say just now. The veterinarian said he needed to change his clothes first. After that, they brought Chuenzi and the others into the lounge. The man said his name was Liang Kixin. Chuenzi praised Dr. Liang for his superb medical skills. The equipment in the store is very professional. Dr. Liang also laughed and said, I was originally a top student at medical school, but because there wasn't much background, can't get into the big hospital. So now we have opened a pet hospital here. He was once I have never seen my biological parents. But later, he was adopted by an old man who collected scrap, barely survived without freezing to death. The old man's name is Liu Yi, Xingwang village, located in the northern suburbs of Donglin City. Lord Liu raised Dr. Liang by collecting scrap and provide for his education. When Dr. Liang was 13 years old, Xingwang village was requisitioned. Although Liu Yi has lived in Xingwang village for nearly 50 years, but there are no clan assets and no land certificate. So no more compensatory love. Later, the people from the demolition office found them. They said as long as they help clean the bone pit under the drum stage, just give them an apartment. Chuenzi was astonished to hear this. Beneath the village houses there is actually a mass grave. This is so scary. But Dr. Liang said this is nothing at all. That place was inherently very strange. Often, people see drumming performances in the dead of night. Many men and women are standing. These people are dressed in the clothing of commoners from the Republic of China era, surrounded by the drumming circle, with head down, standing straight, and remained motionless. Not a word is spoken. The atmosphere was eerie to the point of suffocation, especially during the Qingming festival and the 15th of July. These people appear the most. The midnight drumming ground is often filled with a strange crowd. Soon after, the work of digging up the bones has begun. Master Liu takes Dr. Liang with him every night, carrying white bones down into a circular pit over 10 meters deep. However, just as they dug to the very bottom of the grave, strange things happened. Only see in the soil. They unearthed a well-preserved body of a girl. The little girl is wearing a pink cotton jacket and cotton pants, wearing a faded butterfly flower on the head. This mass grave is evidence of the Japanese soldiers burying the local people alive. So this girl has been in the pit for at least 40 or 50 years. The corpse was preserved so well. It's simply unbelievable. But Dr. Liang saw the girl's body at that time. It doesn't feel strange at all, because among the group of ghosts lingering in the drumming ground, Dr. Liang had seen this girl more than once. He even gave the girl a name, Xiao Hong. Sixth Master said this girl is too pitiful. It may be due to the heavy resentment after death. This led to the body resisting. Sixth Master couldn't bear to see the girl burned to ashes, another body exposed in the wilderness. So they dug a deep pit overnight, bury Xiao Hong's body. At this point, Dr. Liang couldn't help but sigh. Chuenzi thought they ended up not getting the house. But Dr. Liang said it wasn't. At that time, they indeed received the house. But ever since the burial of Xiao Hong's spirit appeared in Dr. Liang's home. For the next 25 years, Xiao Hong just kept following Dr. Liang. Upon hearing this, Chuenzi, a chill ran through me. Could it be that the Xiao Hong mentioned by Dr. Liang, at this moment in this room? Dr. Liang answered, That's right. She is right here. and kept lying behind the string. A terrifying vengeful spirit was actually resting on the boy's shoulder, and this vengeful spirit originally lay behind Dr. Liang. Since Dr. Liang was a child, after burying the corpse of a girl who had not been at peace for decades with Li Yi, the girl's spirit has been following Dr. Liang all along, for 25 years. Whether it's eating, working, showering, or using the bathroom, the spirits of the girls have always accompanied Dr. Liang. Dr. Liang suffered greatly as a result, so he wanted to ask Chuenzi and the others to help him get rid of the female ghost, Ziohong, for decades bound by malevolent spirits. Dr. Liang has consulted various methods to break the soul. An old doctor once told him, "Those warm-blooded animals that have lived for over 100 years can shatter the soul, because they must rely on absorbing the energy of heaven and earth. Only then can one continue to cultivate. And part of the earth's darkness comes from the lost souls." Dr. Liang hopes that the mouse demon will wake up, can help him draw away Zio Hong's lingering spirit. Upon hearing this, Chuenzi couldn't help but sigh inwardly. He didn't expect the rat demon to have such abilities. No wonder when he discovered the ghost ship of white bones. Without any hesitation, they rushed forward. It turned out that it was to absorb the ghostly energy of the souls on the ship. The rat demon was always dissatisfied with the status quo, still practicing in secret. Perhaps one day the rat demon will regain its power, will leave from beside Chuenzi. Understand this point. Chuenzi then thought of another point. He remembers the method of breaking disasters with spices. Explanation about luck and its depletion. According to the book, luck is determined by fate. Yan Zio is a branch of the earth. Yin and yang dissolution. As one rises, another falls. Chuenzi never understood the meaning of these words. But thinking about this period of time, after what happened to the mouse demon, Chuenzi understood. In summary, it's just one sentence. Cycles of repetition. When Chuenzi first met the mouse demon, he is serving as the Mountain King in Qinglong Mountain. At that time, the mouse demon wore the Qingling demon armor, the group of underlings, unmatched in might and arrogance. But just when he was at his best, but encountered Uncle Lio, good fortune disappears in an instant. Uncle Lio broke his physical form on the spot. It was precisely because the youth armor had been removed. The rat demon was able to save its life, although I lost a bunch of little brothers. But later they gained a number of human fans, feasting and indulging all day long. There are beautiful women around me, close and passionate. Just when the rat demon was living its best life, he followed the troop to Dongling City on the ghost ship. He received a massive amount of yin soul energy for his cultivation. This was another opportunity for the rat demon to seize power. But right now, the rat demon has been harmed again. Almost lost my life. From the trajectory of the mouse demon's fortune chart, when a person clearly knows that their luck has reached its peak, it is essential to prepare early, because luck disappears once it is gone. It can make a person fall into the abyss in an instant. So in the face of fate, no one can achieve immortality. Upon thinking of this, the string suddenly emitted a brilliant light. Looking at myself in the mirror, there was actually golden light flowing above. Perhaps sensing the good luck on Chuenzi, the rat demon on the operating table suddenly let out a sizzling sound. Chuenzi excitedly stepped forward to stroke the mouse demon's forehead. It seems he has passed the dangerous period. To thank Dr. Liang for saving my life, Chuenzi decided to help Dr. Liang with a haircut. Dr. Liang instinctively touched his hair, living alone with a ghost all these years. I've long gotten used to pulling him along. Hearing that Chuenzi was going to get a haircut, She happily sat on the stool and asked Chuenzi, "Is he more suited for a buzz cut or a side part?" He, Chuenzi, couldn't help but smile slightly. "Let's shave it all off first." Dr. Liang heard these words, immediately panicked. "Can you not shave your head completely?" But Chuenzi had already picked up the razor and started to move. He first found his aim. Daikan, Zucha. The eyebrows connect to three acupuncture points that align with the yin. In the blink of an eye, Dr. Liang was shaved bald. Then Chuenzi performed silver needle acupuncture. Unblock the blood vessels. Promote blood circulation to the brain. In this way, the spirit will also be unknown for a while. Under the gentle massage stimulation of the string, Dr. Liang felt the nerves in his face shaking uncontrollably. He felt that Chuenzi was very different from an ordinary barber. Chuenzi explained that he is not a barber, but rather a barber. The difference between the two is significant. Barbers only know how to shave heads. A barber who can also massage and care for facial muscles. The final step is to grow. Chuenzi pressed his hand against three acupressure points. In an instant, Dr. Liang's hair suddenly grew into a shiny black mane. At this moment, Dr. Liang felt that his breathing had become much smoother. "My head is no longer in a daze." Just then, the rat on the operating table suddenly began to scream. The rats first stood on end when it saw him. No need to shine. Surely they were startled by something. Looking again at the reflection in his eyes, unexpectedly discovered a ghostly blue light. The mysterious movement was entangled around the rat's body. The rat demon Zizi is seeking help. The tone was extremely terrified. Chuenzi quickly bent down to sue. Unexpectedly, the rat demons first stood on end. No need to shine. Gritting teeth and staring ahead, Chuenzi quickly took a careful look. In the eyes of the mouse demon, a worm's scale was unexpectedly reflected. Suddenly, the mouse demon howled wildly and struggled. The insect-scaled creature actually wants to drain the mouse demon dry. Chuenzi immediately shouted, "Dr. Liang, has there ever been any deadly creatures like snakes or scorpions here?" The bloodthirsty mouth of the rat demon is extremely dangerous. It is evident how much pain there is. Dr. Liang quickly said, "There have never been any dead snakes or scorpions." Having said that, he prepared to inject the mouse demon with a plan. Chuenzi quickly intervened. "This will cost the rat demon's life." After listening, Dr. Liang calmed down, suddenly said, "I remembered. Many centipedes have died here. Previously, across from the Shark Gate Hall. It is a traditional Chinese medicine shop. The town's treasured artifact at that time. It's just a giant centipede's liver. That's at least half a meter long." Chuenzi was taken aback upon hearing this. No wonder the mouse is so afraid. The giant centipede is also a mouse. So he said, "Dr. Liang, can you help me get a live rooster?" Dr. Liang felt a sense of helplessness. "It's not even dawn yet. Where can I go? I wonder if the vegetable market is open now." Chuenzi is also in a hurry to find a cure. The renowned Taoist master, Liu Kai, is right here. Rocky immediately said, "Dr. Liang, where is the vegetable market?" Chuenzi, take good care of the mouse demon. The rooster is my responsibility. Dr. Liang finished giving the address. Rocky rushed out the door. The little shadow doll couldn't stay idle and followed closely behind. Time passes little by little. Half an hour passed in the blink of an eye. The rat demon was still suffering, hissing in pain. But Chuenzi has calmed down. It is presumed that the jungle harmed the rat demon. It might be the insect bones nurtured by the bone keeper. The insect bones fear sunlight and prefer darkness. It must also be dry. Otherwise, the corpse of the insect bone will soon decay. At this point, outside the door, suddenly a clucking sound was heard. As soon as I turned my head, I saw Luo Kai. A lively rooster burst in. This is the most formidable rooster in the entire market. He called out. All the roosters bowed their heads in submission. Rocky said this and then placed the rooster on the ground. The rooster's eyes glistened like willows. Just in time to see the centipede bug crawling on the rat demon, instantly activating the rooster's instincts. The excited chick kept chirping. The rooster stopped crowing after a short while. Chuenzi immediately noticed. The faint fishy smell brought by the insect bell disappeared. In the next moment, the mouse demon sat up, let out a deep breath. "Damn centipede, you've killed me." Unexpectedly, Luoki teased. "Even you, an old master of 100 years, have things you're afraid of." The rat spirit speaks in an extremely unclear manner. "But there's nothing I can do." At that moment, Chuenzi said, "It's time to uncover the hiding place of the insect bones." In the shade, ventilated, dry as the shadow just falls, Master Lio's tracking technique proved effective. The faint light spreads out, guiding the threads. Quickly, Chuenzi locked onto a room. Upon opening, it turned out to be a storage room. He then looked at the ventilation duct inside the room. Here I indeed found the corpse of the centipede. Fortunately, this is not an insect's bone. The centipede died in the ventilation area, blown into a mummified corpse, unwilling to die with a heavy heart. So the insect bell will spiral in this room and cannot leave. At this point, Chuenzi looked at Dr. Liang and said, "The principle of a haunting is the same. Those who died unjustly, especially those who died tragic deaths. The lingering resentment after death stays in the mortal realm. It will be just like this centipede bell. Unable to escape reincarnation, resentment is like an unbreakable place, an impenetrable crystal wall. The lost souls can wander inside but cannot break through. If you accidentally enter the crystal wall, it creates the illusion of being haunted by souls. In fact, we have stepped into the lives of the lost souls. So to drive away the wandering souls, it can cause him to be hurt again, struck him so hard that his soul left his body. But it can also resolve his grievances. Let him leave without any regrets. For example, this centipede bell. His resentment is very simple. Let him return to nature. Buried underground, the body will naturally decompose. At this point, Dr. Liang also understood the meaning of the string. Because Dr. Liang attracted the ghost Xiao Hong during his childhood. As a result, Xiao Hong was entangled for decades. If we can resolve Xiao Hong's resentment, Xiao Hong will naturally leave Dr. Liang to be reincarnated. Chuenzi continued to speak. Xiao Hong's background is quite tragic. But after all, he was our flesh and blood in life. Why resort to extreme measures? He beat him so badly that his soul almost left his body. Dr. Liang also sighed deeply. Imagine a ghost haunting for decades. Waking up in the middle of the night, I opened my eyes. I saw a pale-faced little girl with dark circles under her eyes. What's even scarier is that Xiao Hong is staring at you intently. The string also had to admit it was indeed quite terrifying. It's a miracle that Dr. Liang is still alive and hasn't committed suicide. But Dr. Liang said again, "How can we resolve his grievances? Does anyone know the secrets of a ghost's heart?" But Chuenzi felt it was not a difficult task. I was about to analyze it for Dr. Liang. Suddenly, two curses were heard from outside the door. Pervert psychopath. The three of them were suddenly startled, quickly rushed out to take a look. Suddenly, an ant appeared holding a cat covered in blood, cursing at the white silk beauty. Even more shocking is that the beautiful woman's stockings were unexpectedly stained with blood. In broad daylight, the beautiful woman unexpectedly took off her blood-stained stockings in public, turn and throw it into the trash can. Her series of actions. It startled the three big gentlemen standing nearby. Just now, the girl was forcibly pulled by an aunt to the pet hospital. Dr. Liang in the room heard the noise of women arguing outside the door, so they immediately came out to check. The first glance at the two people. Dr. Liang was captivated by the girl's brows and eyes. The elderly woman was holding an injured gray cat. Pointing at the girl's nose, he angrily called her a perverted lunatic. If anything happens to Bebe in their family, the girl must face the consequences of her actions. But the girl didn't care at all. I think this old lady is really overreacting. But the aunt wouldn't give it up. A hand grabbed the girl's hair, cursing the girl for being heartless. "It's you, this stinky woman, who abuses our baby." The girl instantly became angry. "Isn't it just a cat? Just pay you money, right?" Dr. Liang inquired about what was going on. Then the elderly woman approached, cradling the cat. The girl stepped on the cat with her foot. "I almost killed her cat. Please, Dr. Liang, save their family's baby." Dr. Liang took a look at the gray cat. Then he let out a long sigh. He told the aunt not to waste her efforts. This cat was already dead before being sent here. The aunt, upon hearing this, sadness almost made me fly away. He turned around and angrily pointed at the girl. "I need to take the girl to the police station." He insisted on sending that perverted woman to prison. The girl was very puzzled. "Is it really just a cat? I already said I would compensate you." But the aunt was still angry. "I don't want your money. I will have you imprisoned." The girl reached into her pocket and pulled out 1,000 yuan. This is definitely enough for Auntie to buy another Persian cat. The aunt snatched the money without hesitation, turned around and walked out. Still rambling on before leaving. Let's see what the girl can do. Chuanzi suddenly noticed something in the girl's bag. There was actually a stack of thick bills and a camera with a price discrepancy. Thinking to himself, this beautiful woman must be quite wealthy. Dr. Liang saw that the girl had not left. "Ask if there is anything else." The girl first took off her bloodied high heels. Suddenly, she took off the stockings from her legs right in front of the three of them. The three of them were stunned and speechless. The girl takes off her stockings, while muttering disdainfully about that damned cat. I unexpectedly saw the blood on his foot. Upon hearing this, Dr. Liang, the veterinarian, I wanted to ask the girl why she abuses cats. But the girl still looked disdainful. Let Dr. Liao mind his own business. Just as the girl turned around to prepare to leave. But I saw the fat lady from earlier in groups of 3 or 5. A group of people approached the Shaoli Eden menacingly. The girl immediately turned around and went back inside the house. Hold on to Dr. Liang's sleeve tightly. Let Dr. Liang help her. Dr. Liang immediately pulled down the roll-up door. The aunt and uncle were knocked outside the door, no matter how they beat. Dr. Liang just won't open the door. Shout loudly to calm the people outside. At that moment, the girl just now quietly ran into the inner room. Dr. Liang was about to step in and stop, but thought it was just one night. As soon as the girl entered the room, it collided head-on with the injured mouse spirit. The rat demon saw the beautiful woman and was just about to greet her. Unexpectedly, the girl was so scared that she froze in place, suddenly turned and jumped into Dr. Liang's arms. The character couldn't help but exclaim, "The art of marriage is truly remarkable." Just shaved her head. Immediately, a beautiful woman offered an embrace. I really want to get one for myself too, despite being embraced closely by a beautiful woman. Let Dr. Liang be enchanted and entranced. But the shouting outside the door quickly awakened two generations. The aunt outside the door continued to knock incessantly, warned them not to open the door again. She immediately called the police. The girl shouted defiantly at that moment, "I won't open the door. You will be furious." Dr. Liang advised her to tone it down a bit. "Don't provoke the other party any more." Then she let the elderly outside. "Let's calm down first. Now it is a society governed by the rule of law. Even if the police arrive, we must grab the evidence. Right now, she actually has a suggestion. Ensure everyone can buy it." Then Dr. Liang opened the rolling shutter door. "Let the aunt see this. Let her explain." Dr. Liang said, "How about this? Today I will take charge. Let this young lady pay 500 yuan in compensation to everyone. And my pet hospital. Sometimes people bring over some kittens and puppies. I hope to find someone to adopt. If any valuable varieties are sent here in the future, I will definitely prioritize everyone at that time." After speaking, he took out 500 yuan and let everyone leave their contact information. The plump woman snatched the money away, still arrogantly stated, "Let's just leave it at that for today. But if this girl continues like this in the future, there will definitely be retribution." After Fat Mama took the people away, Dr. Liang began to question the girl again. Why harm small animals? As a veterinarian, she deeply feels that every life in the world deserves respect. But the girl lit a cigarette. Don't let Dr. Liang be so self-righteous. Don't think that helping her out means you can teach her a lesson. But Dr. Liang does not feel that he is educating the other person, only in her eyes. Animals, like us, also have life. Everyone knows pain. Abuse them in such a cruel way. What's the point, really? The woman listened to these words. He immediately dropped the cigarette butt and looked ahead. "She hurts. Don't I hurt?" Just as they were speaking, the girl started to take off her clothes. "Did you think only cats have been abused? Do you think I'm living a happy life?" As soon as the words fell, the woman has already taken off her clothes, revealing the shocking moral scar on their body. The girl was covered in scars from abuse. Scars burned. The person who acted was actually her biological father. The girl said at this point she was in tears. Chuenzi and Liuoqi couldn't help but feel a jolt in their hearts. How could a father be so cruel? But it wasn't that cat that hurt her. Why did the girl have to mistreat the cat to death? The girl said, "I don't necessarily want to torture small animals either. The key is that selling it is very profitable." A chilling message slowly emerged from the girl's lips. There are actually websites that buy videos of animal cruelty. Recording for 10 minutes can earn 7,000 yuan. Chuenzi was instantly startled. The girl was brutally murdered in Tianlin, Qingqin City. He quickly asked the girl what website that was. The girl thought she also had to do the string. Said casually, "It was a website with a spider icon, but you have to pay to watch." What shocked Chuenzi and the others even more was, this website actually has a department dedicated to buying videos. You need recommendations to sell videos. Clearly, its scale is not small and is extremely complex. The girl said while writing something, "Someone wants to invite me out. I was scolded like a dog. I am not someone to be trifled with." After saying that, he handed the note to Xu Yiling. That last sentence was clearly directed at Dr. Liang. Finally, the girl said again, "Thank you for today. Please invite me for tea when you have time." Looking at the girl's silhouette, Chuenzi couldn't help but tease. She's over 10 years younger than you. Lao Liang stopped chasing after younger women. Little did they know, old Liang sighed. Isn't that right? Even if I want to. They may not necessarily agree. You won't know until you make an appointment. But Chuanzi thought this girl, it doesn't seem like we can live together. Lao Liang said, I care about her situation. Find some time to chat with her. Speaking of which, Chuanzi recalled the matter of the female ghost, Zio Hong. Just ask how Lao Liang feels. Lao Liang also wanted to resolve Zio Hong's resentment. There is no way to begin. Chuanzi felt that, when Zio Hong was buried alive, it should have been the same time as the family was murdered. After her family was cremated by you and Liu Yi, scattered on the barren hills. If it lets her return to the mountains, a family reunion should be enough when it comes to Liu Yi. Although Sixth Master couldn't bear to turn Zio Hong into ashes, corpse exposed in the wilderness, but buried underground is actually to make Zio Hong roll his bones apart. Zio Hong has nowhere to go. Of course, I must follow Yang Kixin, but the place where Zio Hong was buried has already been covered by a building. At this moment, Lao Yang pondered for a moment. Then I said I deceived you. Afterward, Sixth Master took Zio Hong's body, buried beneath an old tree. Master Liu said, if the house is built on Zio Hong, Huey Yong will never be able to turn things around. Xuanzi not only did not blame old Liang for his deception. Instead, my heart felt refreshed. Quickly contacted Officer Shen at the Dongling City Police Station. This kind of grave digging must be filed for record. Officer Shen immediately began to verify. 3 days after completing the filing process, a few people brought the police to the big tree to start digging. Very soon, a shocking scene unfolds. Zio Hong's body surprisingly showed no signs of decay. Rocky couldn't help but sigh. What a pitiful child. Zio Hong's death is deeply lamentable. Lao Liang actually doesn't dislike Zio Hong, just haunted by ghosts for decades. It's hard to explain in just one sentence. Then Rocky went home to take care of the dog, Little String, and the mouse demon. Chuenzi and Lao Liang rushed to the crematorium with Zio Hong's body. Lao Liang has always wanted to get rid of Zio Hong. But as this day truly arrives, there's a bit of reluctance. He had long been accustomed to Zio Hong's presence. Chuenzi didn't know how to comfort Lao Liang. But just then, a sudden cry of surprise came from afar. In the next moment, a sickly figure hurriedly fled the funeral palace, shouting out loud, I've seen a ghost. I've seen a ghost. Suddenly, Bing Zhenggong rushed in front of the two and shouted, the little girl you sent is alive. Xuanzi was suddenly startled. Are you referring to the phenomenon of wet movement caused by muscle contraction under high temperature incineration? That's a normal situation. Bing Zhenggong looked terrified. Isn't it this kind of phenomenon? Lao Liang was also extremely shocked. Did Zio Hong really come back to life? But the string shouted, they have been dead for so long, it's impossible for them to come back to life. Hurry up. Let's go take a look and find out. Quickly arrived in front of the crematorium. Xuanzi lowered his head and looked into the furnace. A figure can be vaguely seen through the flames. Suddenly, Xuanzi widened his eyes in shock. Zio Hong really pushed the lid open and sat up. In the blazing fire of 800 degrees, Zio Hong strangely showed no signs of being burned. Have you heard of corpses exploding in a crematorium? Only the blazing fire of the cremation furnace could be seen. The little girl's body suddenly sat up. Xuanzi stretched his head to look. Suddenly, a shock ran through my heart. However, an even stranger scene appeared. The little girl in the fiery inferno unexpectedly glanced back at Chuenzi. A hint of sorrow on the youthful face suddenly burned away into ashes. Seeing the situation, Chuenzi, frightened, he fell to the ground. At this time, the people outside were discussing animatedly. It is said that a strange phenomenon appeared in the sky. So Chuenzi and Dr. Liang hurried outside, only seen in a large chimney. Suddenly, a cloud of black smoke floated out, hovering over the crematorium. It lingers endlessly. However, what's even scarier is the black smoke transformed into a giant human face, and it seems to be smiling down at the people on the ground. Chuenzi, let Dr. Liang take a look. Is the spirit of the girl Zio Hong still around? For many years, the female ghost, Zio Hong, kept following Dr. Liang. Chuenzi cremated her. She wanted to be buried with her family's ashes, to help her dissolve her grievances. No longer entangling Dr. Liang, Dr. Liang looked around. Zio Hong is no longer here, but he still worries that Zio Hong will appear again. Chuenzi told her to relax. Being haunted by a ghost is not like catching a virus. Where else is there a recurrence, since it has already disappeared? The fate between Dr. Liang and the female ghost Zio Hong. This is where it ends. After that, the two held Zio Hong's ashes, preparing to take it to the mountain for burial. Just as I was about to get in the car, Chuenzi heard someone calling her from behind. Looking back, it was that day at the Dongling police station. The young Taoist priest locked up with Chuenzi at that time when they came out, and saved her too. I never expected to run into you on the street today. The young Taoist returned that day. I talked to my master about the incident. His master also said, I want to find an opportunity to spar with Chuenzi. Before the voice fell silent, an old Taoist priest appeared. He got out of the car from nearby. He said solemnly, Infinite Heavenly Sovereign, I introduce myself with the Dharma name Yin Cheng. Greetings to senior brother Chuenzi. Chuenzi didn't expect. I can't believe an old man called me senior brother. This little Taoist priest, probably in front of his master. The strings have already been blown up to the sky. Chuenzi had no choice but to grit his teeth and bow respectfully. The deist priest claimed to be overly courteous. The younger generation is just a wandering priest. I truly don't deserve the title of respect. Lao Dao thanked Chuenzi for taking care of his disciple, but soon their expression changed. There's something I shouldn't say, but he still wants to talk. Matters concerning the legal affairs of Dongling City. They have always been accustomed to handling matters with the heavens. Recently, deist Chuenzi merely passed through this place, but recklessly intervened. This seems a bit out of line. Chuenzi repeatedly apologized upon hearing this. These days in Dongling City, I'm just thinking about helping Laoshu escape danger. Took action to solve the local reservoir pollution issue, but forgot about the rules of the Jianghu. Looking back, I think, indeed, it has taken someone else's job. The old master felt a bit awkward seeing Chuenzi, no longer aggressive. Suddenly, she said with a stern tone, He has come this time. It was because they saw the strange phenomenon above the crematorium. I believe Chuenzi came here for this too. Chuenzi explained the whole situation to the old deist. Didn't expect it. The old deist said, he has encountered this kind of fried loss before. A doctor once told him, this is called jiajing. It was when the back nerves were burned by fire at the time of death, the phenomenon of loss of motion caused by rapid contraction. The doctor said this is a scientific phenomenon, but the old priest did not think so. Most people would be unlucky for a few days in such a situation, although the misfortune may not be related to this. But I still advise you to be careful, Chuenzi." The old deist did not delay any longer. He turned around and left by car. Watching the departing car, Dr. Liang said tirelessly, "Playing tricks and being mysterious." But Chuenzi felt otherwise. In any case, it's best to be cautious today. Then the two of them hit the road. On the way, Dr. Liang, sitting in the passenger seat, was quite speechless. He knows that Chuenzi is afraid of getting into a car accident. But this car is driving way too slowly. Only the cars beside us were speeding by. Only the car of Chuenzi is driving towards home. Chuenzi carefully drove the car, explained while Zio Hong can even sit up in the cremation furnace. It's not impossible for them to be plagued by bad luck. Before the voice could fade away, the chicken heard a loud bang behind it. A sedan rear-ended Chuenzi and the others. The vehicle suddenly lost control, hit the pothole by the roadside. Fortunately, there are seat belts and airbags for protection. The two of them were lucky to survive. Looking back at the car as I got out, the fat man in the driver's seat. Unexpectedly, it has become a great sin. Face full of redness. Seeing this, the two thought to themselves, "This fat guy got so drunk he didn't crash into anyone. It is already a blessing. I didn't expect the bad luck just now. The business has grown so rapidly." Afterward, the two were sent to the hospital. Fortunately, it's just a mild muscle strain. The police told them to go home and rest today. Tomorrow, go to the bureau to record your statement. On the way back, Chuenzi's back pain is unbearable. Just happened to come across a massage parlor by the roadside. Dr. Liang helped Chuenzi. I plan to go into the store and give him a massage. As soon as Kailayo entered the door, Chuenzi saw a person, a middle-aged woman in a black silk dress, sitting upright on the sofa in the shop. In plain sight, a group of beautiful women unexpectedly pulls and tugs at the string. Where can one enjoy Chuenzi? Just massage, no funny business. The boss lady clicked her tongue in amazement. These days, people come to him here. There is actually a proper person who gives massages. It turns out that Chuenzi is plagued by bad luck. Just got rear-ended by a car and wrenched my back. Veterinarian Liang Kixing invited Chuenzi to give a massage. But as soon as I entered, I saw the boss's wife. Her charm still lingers, captivating and beautiful. The moment Chuenzi glanced at the boss lady, he knew she wasn't doing anything proper. Immediately turned and left. "Sorry to bother you." Lao Liang was still puzzled. "Why aren't you going in, Chuenzi?" Suddenly, a pair of arms wrapped around Chuenzi. "The boss lady doesn't want to let such a handsome guy get away. Why are you in such a hurry to leave?" After finishing, she called her sisters to come out quickly. 3 beautiful girls appeared quickly, attacking the string from top to bottom. Chuenzi immediately shouted nervously, "We don't want to do it. Don't make a move." When the boss lady learned that Chuenzi had hurt his back, it suddenly feels funny just wanting a massage. But she was a bit envious of the skewers. "Personally give Chuenzi a massage. I don't want to miss any chance to flirt." Suddenly Chuenzi asked, "Did the boss lady dye her hair?" Unexpectedly, the string can. The boss lady is in her 40s and has never had white hair. Her hair is naturally glossy and smooth. Chuenzi picked up a strand of hair and examined it closely. Without deep thought, this hair quality indicates something about the mistress's body. The original yang energy filled with many men. Fortune is exceptionally strong. As a result, other beauty salons nearby closed down one after another. But the boss lady unexpectedly brought good luck, using such an improper obsession. Upon thinking of this, Chuanzi developed greedy thoughts. He said casually, "Boss, you gave me a massage. Let me give you a head massage." The boss lady is also in high spirits. However, they discovered that Chuanzi's massage techniques were exceptionally skillful. What the boss lady doesn't know is Chuanzi as a barber. The true skill lies in shaving the heads of the deceased, kneeling to cut open the belly of a living person, the best at bending the back and avoiding the chest. Pray for good fortune. But there is another method of the calamity master. Right now, the boss lady really wants to use a massage with a stick, but the strings have already begun to move, entangled in a calamity involving a rat. Using massage techniques, forcefully hijacking the boss lady's fortune for personal gain, with the rhythm of the strings' breaths. A great deal of energy was captured by the strings, but the boss lady felt exceptionally refreshed. When it was time for the string to stop, the boss lady couldn't help but shout out in delight. The two of them walked out of the room. The boss lady looked as if she had been sold off and was still counting the money. I wish I could pay the vendor extra. At that moment, Chuanzi couldn't help but think, the boss lady was robbed of her grace by me. If nothing unexpected happens, misfortune will come. Thinking of this, suddenly a roar echoed from outside the door. Chuanzi was suddenly startled. Then I saw two unremarkable-looking men with sinister expressions. The boss lady immediately scolded, "You two debtors, worthless scoundrels! Another attempt to get something for nothing. You deserve to be poor for a lifetime." Seeing the boss lady becoming more and more fierce in her scolding, Chuanzi thought it best to mind his own business. Just about to turn and leave, suddenly a scream from the boss lady came from behind. Chuanzi quickly turned around to look, but I saw the boss lady's forehead beaming with joy. But those two men held daggers. The sisters in the shop screamed in terror. Someone has been killed. Suddenly, the long-haired man turned the knife's edge. It pierced right through the boss lady's abdomen. The boss lady collapsed into a pool of blood. The two people immediately turned and fled. Yet there was not a trace of panic. Chuanzi witnessed the tragic situation of the boss lady. I couldn't help but feel regret. Chuanzi never expected kidnapping the pregnant boss's wife. It could lead to such serious consequences. What made Chuanzi even more alarmed was the boss's eyes suddenly filled with bloodshot veins. The arterial capillaries on the face suddenly became engorged and bulged. A woman lies in a pool of blood, convulsing uncontrollably. Her face burst into a radiant glow. Bloodshot eyes. Just now, two robbers stormed into the massage parlor. Without further ado, he immediately started slashing at the boss lady. After chopping turn and run, looking at the fallen boss lady, Chuanzi didn't know what to do. If I had known she would face such a calamity, Chuanzi would never rashly seize her jade. Regretting now is completely useless. The priority is still to save lives. At that moment, Dr. Liang, who had gone out to buy buns, just returned. Seeing the landlady on the ground, frothing at the mouth and about to suffocate, he immediately pushed through the crowd and rushed forward. He took out a pen from his pocket and removed the cap. Lift the woman's neck and take a deep breath. Then he raised the pen and stabbed it into the woman's throat. Insert a pen tube directly into the throat. In an instant, a heavy gasp was heard. Oxygen is inhaled directly into the lungs through the woman's throat, too. As oxygen intake increases, the boss lady's expression gradually returned to normal. Meanwhile, the ambulance rushed in with a wailing siren. The paramedic carried the stretcher into the room. He squatted down to check the injured person's vital signs and the pantube around their neck. He immediately asked, "Who did this?" Liang Kixing stated it was him. The doctors lifted the seriously injured boss lady. "Which hospital is Liang Kixing from?" Liang Kixing stated that he is a veterinarian, but he graduated from a medical college. He saved others this way based on emergency rescue principles. It's not random manipulation. The doctor told him not to overthink. They are short of staff in the hospital's surgery department. So I want to ask him if he has the desire to practice medicine, if he is willing to come. As long as there are no issues with the assessment, then I can take a position in surgery. After speaking, he handed a business card to Liang Kixing. Let him think about it. Looking at the business card in hand, Liang Kixing stood in place. The thing I've been looking forward to for so many years. Suddenly, everything I wished for came true. It's simply unbelievable. After the ambulance leaves, Xuanzi stepped forward to congratulate Dr. Liang, wishing him a wider path ahead. At the same time as the two were talking, unbeknownst to them on the rooftop behind, a mysterious figure stood there. After a night's rest, the two of them have almost fully recovered. So the two decided to go to the traffic police station, handling the car accident. As soon as I entered the police station, the two saw the chubby man who caused the accident yesterday. At this moment, he was arrogantly making a phone call. Seeing the two of them, there was not a hint of apology. Xuanzi felt quite displeased upon seeing this. You hit someone and still act so arrogantly. It seems that we need to teach this old fellow a lesson. At that moment, the female officer called them to the office next door. They threw the cigarette butt in the direction behind him, muttering to myself before heading out, "Isn't it just about wanting money? You're really wasting my time." Xuanzi remained silent upon seeing this. Instead, he casually picked up the cigarette butt dropped by the chubby guy. Liang Kixing did not understand why Xuanzi was picking up this thing. But Xuanzi laughed and said, "Keep it as a backup." Came to the next office. The police determined that the overweight person was fully at fault for the rear-end collision. Both parties can discuss the specific compensation amount. But at this moment, the chubby man remained arrogant. "I feel like there's nothing much to say. Just wait for the insurance company representatives to come and talk to them." Some people just like to play with words, to swindle others out of their money. When Xuanzi heard this, immediately became angry. But just at that moment, suddenly a commotion broke out outside. A middle-aged woman was shouting, "The bus hit and killed someone. The bus company should take full responsibility." But the middle-aged man in the white shirt across said, "This is an accident. Let Sister Liu calm down first. Her husband was hit by a bus. They do not deny this. Nor will I ever evade the responsibilities I must bear. But the bus driver was struck in the back of the head by a madman with a hammer. That caused this pedestrian accident. After the incident, the bus company promptly covered the medical expenses. What more do you want after reaching this point?" But Sister Liu doesn't care about any of this. Bringing all the relatives to the police station, I must seek an explanation. The police retrieved the surveillance footage and discovered. At that time, someone inside the car did attack the driver, ultimately led to the vehicle losing control and crashing into the victim. Xuanzi suddenly realized that the officer handling the case was Officer Shen. Officer Shen greeted the group as soon as he saw them. He came to the traffic police department to retrieve this surveillance footage. It was probably in the second half of last year. A madman has appeared in the city, specializes in using a hammer to strike the driver on the last bus. Last night, this madman struck again. At that time, the bus lost control and injured people. The family of the injured is now holding the bus company manager, insisting on coming to the police station for an explanation. When Chuenzi heard the hammer, he was a bit surprised. Immediately inquire about the killer's attire. Officer Shen said, "The killer always wears a long trench coat while committing the crime, carrying a vintage leather bag. The hammer used as a weapon is hidden in the bag. There are signs of a struggle at the crime scene, but the killer is strong and robust. No driver could escape his attack." Upon hearing this, Chuenzi immediately thought of that night he and Rocky went to steal from the Fat family. The strange person I encountered. It turned out that guy was actually a serial killer. That is the bloodstain left by the murderer pounding the ground. It was left behind by him right after committing the crime. Upon thinking of this, Chuenzi suddenly realized. Afterward, Officer Shen handed Chuenzi a sketch of the murderer, with a wry smile, hoping that days Chuenzi would be free to help with a divination. If we can find the murderer, it can be considered a great help to him. After saying this, there's another commotion at the door. Officer Shen hurried to mediate. At this moment Chuenzi noticed that no one was paying attention around. "Xinjiang, it's time to teach that fat guy a lesson. Today I won't let him suffer a loss. Going out will eventually hurt others." In contemplation, Chuenzi pulled a white piece of paper from the table, folded into the shape of a little person, finally put down the cigarette butt that the chubby guy just discarded. A little stock figure is just done like this. Have you heard of Jia Zio Ren? The paper flute gently pinched the little one's arm, the left hand of this fat man, the occurrence of convulsions in a conditioned reflex manner. The cigarette also fell to the ground. The heart feels light and joyful. Watch me take you down. The string used is exactly what Master Liao taught. The mysterious art of sealing doors, the simplest yet most dangerous. It is also the lowest kind of stock manipulator. First, fold a little person out of paper, using the host's body hair again. Now, pu shui, just smear or wrap it on the little person. The skewer was picked up immediately. It is precisely using the slobber from the fat one on the cigarette butt. Finished making the straw doll, but just let the do it in front of the officer. Throwing away a cigarette butt won't ease the hatred. Previously, this fat guy was driving under the influence, the car that was tailing the string, but right now there is no sign of remorse. Chuenzi couldn't hold back his anger. Fatty doesn't take lies seriously. Sooner or later, innocent people will be harmed. So immediately, he controlled the puppet to wave its right arm. With a bang, that S right hand struck the officer's face heavily. The citizens nearby were arguing incessantly. Instantly turned into a bystander. That fat guy is so brave. The officer was also stunned in place by a slap. Subconsciously touched the corner of my mouth, seeing the bloodstains on my hands. Anger flared up in my heart. But what came instead was the fat guy's excuses. At that moment, Chuenzi again manipulated the puppet and knocked it down with a punch. They immediately threw a punch at the officer. The officer caught the punch of the heavy-set man with one hand. The officer immediately